In ancient Greece, Homer's epics were themselves the primary textbook. The education to raise the citizens of the polis was called paideia. Reading Homer, reading classic tragedies, and physical education were part of the curriculum. But what kind of charms did Homer and classical tragedies have that Westerners used them as the basics of education beyond the Hellenistic era and the Roman Empire and even the Middle Ages and early modern times? However, it is clear that it is attractive, but it is not easy to answer what the essence of that attractiveness is. First of all, to say one thing for sure, Homer and classical tragedy, how to say? Should we say that they contain all the basic human emotions that we can experience in life? But in fact, Homer's works are a little different from classical tragedies, and very different from any other works of art today. This is because Homer has a unique sentiment that only the epics of his time have. For example, Achilles, the main character of the Iliad, already knows that he will die in this war from the moment he first appears. Because the oracle is like that. But he doesn't care at all about his imminent death, and only because Agamemnon has taken away his woman, who is his share, is furious and withdraws into his own camp. The characters in Iliad express all the trivial and big emotions humans usually feel, but no one has fundamental questions about life. Even death is accepted as coming when the time comes. Homer's technical style is also quite distinctive. Despite his provocative and brutal depictions of battle, he feels bizarrely obvious. In today's terms, it's a world where there's no such thing as banality or cheesiness. Fundamentally, although the degree is different, we humans live with a certain amount of timidity, and we have no choice but to look at the world with the timidity to some extent. The reason is not only because of the desire for the objects, but also because of the fear in the end. What are you afraid of? Of course it is death. Because humans know that they will have to face death someday, they live with death, either consciously or unconsciously. That's why we're afraid, and that's what keeps us from being bold human beings like Achilles. Tightening shoelaces to go to battle, Achilles says, "I die." So what? In Homer's world, gods and men engage in direct combat shoulder to shoulder. The gods of Olympus split their sides and fought on the side of the Achaeans and the Trojans. At the beginning of the Iliad, an enraged Apollo's arrow mercilessly slaughters the Greeks, and in the later scenes, the goddess Athena concocts her ploy to help the Greeks. Aphrodite is even injured while intervening in battle. A person without fear of death, a person without fundamental discord with the world, a person who does not live with fundamental emptiness, and a person with godlike emotions. This is the reason why it is not awkward to see gods and humans fighting shoulder to shoulder in Iliad. And the biggest characteristic of Homer's epic is right here. But when the time of tragedy comes, everything changes. Gods no longer communicate directly with humans. They hand over the oracle through the shrine maiden. But even that oracle is just a riddle that can be interpreted one way or another depending on how you look at it. The main characters of the tragedy are all human beings who are fundamentally at odds with life and the world. Aristotle tells us that a tragedy is a story in which a great human being falls into misfortune because of a certain defect. But in reality, it is safe to say that a tragedy is a story in which the main character is played by the fate set by the gods. If we look at the work of Sophocles, the representative of classical tragedy, Oedipus' sin is that he was born as Oedipus, and Antigone's only sin is having brothers fighting each other. It's not your fault or wool, you've been destined to do so since birth. When you come to Euripides, even great men disappear in tragedy, leaving only common events by common men. In other words, it becomes something similar to the last drama we see on TV every evening. If you look at it good, it's modern and realistic art, and if you look at it bad, you can call it a popular play. In Homer's epic, time also flows differently than ours. Although the Trojan War dragged on for 10 years, Helen was still the best beauty in Greece. And after the war, Odysseus wandered the sea without returning home for 10 years, but even after 20 years of war and distress, his wife Penelope still beautiful. Penelope attracts dozens of suitors. Homer can be seen as expressing in poetry the ideal human figure and behavior that the Greeks thought, perhaps our humanity unconsciously pursues.